Alright guys, good morning. I felt inspired to make a movie today, and today I'd like to talk a little bit about contrast and what contrast really is and how it can serve you to become your vibrational match to what you like to live. So basically, if you start to deliberately manifest your reality, for those who do so, basically the reality experience is only thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. And when you start to understand that the reality is that simple, the magic can really start to happen. So let's talk a little bit about the 3D. So your 3D experience, according to deliberate manifesting, is nothing else than thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. So what you see in the 3D, what you perceive in the 3D, your eyes, with your eyes, so to speak, are nothing else than your eyes are nothing else than filters to your inner world. So if you change your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, your reality show must change. And so if you want to see another reality, you also have to acknowledge you have to work on these. So you cannot have two realities at the same time. So your ego structure can only hold one reality, right? So let's say your higher self, let's say you have an image about a desired, future desired version. That's what, that's our non-physical part of a persona, and that's beaming at us what it wants to live. It's called higher self, right? That's how Bashar calls it. You can also call it inner being. That's how Esther calls it. So basically, this is the part of your non-physical part of your persona beaming at you. Say, hey, I want to manifest this with you in the 3D, and not that you need to have something more in the 3D, but it is a reference point, a GPS point given by your higher self, so to speak, to help you to become a fuller version. So by having that reference point in the 3D of what your desires are here, you give yourself an opportunity to create an unfolding over time that shed off layers that do not belong to your fullest authentic being. So you start to awaken, so you become more of who you are, and your natural state of beingness rises. So you shed off fear, sadnesses, and beliefs that are not a representation of you as a full happy being. So basically, so a lot of people say like, yeah, I have to accumulate a lot, I have to manifest a lot of money. So yes, you can do that, all that stuff, but it doesn't mean that you become more. That's a bit of a misunderstanding. Where I'm going with that is, you can have it all, you already have it all. Because at the moment you can imagine, that means that you can also already pull that to the 3D. And when you can understand these layers on a deeper level, and there's not so much attachment on anything in the 3D where you see the reality is only a reflection, you start, everything shifts a bit. The importance of having so much money or important experiences, it's not so important anymore, because you already know that you're already being given every day what you need in order to become a fuller version. So if you think you need to accumulate a lot, that's basically mostly out of fear. But hey, you can have a shitload of money and have a shitload of fun if you want. Let's talk a little bit further about how you transform that, because a lot of people do not fully acknowledge or fully not want to integrate or cannot integrate the life circumstances that they're creating, which are seemingly contradiction to what they want to live. And that's a very important thing to understand, and it can be very useful to use everything up in your day towards your desired version. Let's start with a small example. So let's say you live in Amsterdam, my example, and I want to go to the French Alps. Alright, that was my road the last year or last 2 years, so I give up the Netherlands, and I was a bit in a period of time of nothingness, right? And in that period of time, let's say you can make up an example for yourself too, in between job A or job be, or one relationship, other relationship, and so on and so on. There's some sort of a thing that that you do not know what's going to happen. So for me, becoming a vibrational match from Amsterdam to the French Alps, I need to shift a lot in my ego structure, right? I mean, the French Alps is very different. It's very different energy. So in order to ground myself here, I need to change something, right? So to become that vibrational match to the French Alps and live there in a nice house, which I do now, I had to transform something. So what happens if you start to embody your future desired version as it is already there? You bring that to the present, because the time is an illusion. In another sense, it's just it's something created in the 3D to help make sense a bit of the unfolding. But in another sense, that future desired version is already there. When you start embodying it, you have to to acknowledge, you transform certain thoughts, feelings, and beliefs that are not a representation of this version. Not that this version is less or better, it's just different, right? So it's same like if you want to go listen to rock, if you're not used to listen to rock and you want to listen to classic, it's a different vibration. This is like 100 frequency, and classic might be 110. It's not that one version of your reality experience is better than the other, it's just different. And I like to taste now France, and I enjoy France because of the nature, the food, some sort of some other things, the festivals, the parties, skiing. I love skiing. So in that path you create contrast. And let's talk a little bit about contrast. So if you create contrast in the unfolding, that means you create emotions that trigger your system, or thoughts that triggers your system in the unfolding. So let's say you encounter fear in that unfolding from A to B, maybe fear of not arriving there or something like that. And that's the point where it becomes really interesting. That's the negative emotion that comes up, and this is actually the gold. Because the negative emotions, the negative thoughts, the negative beliefs that are coming up to the surface wants to be acknowledged, transformed, and function to your future desired version. So it's a positive messenger in that sense. And a lot of people think, oh, we wave this away, reach out to better feelings. You can do that, that is a way to do it, but you can also say, hey, let's dive into it. That must be something to be acknowledged and transformed and released. And if I release that, I automatically realign myself back into the frame that I like to live. That's a much faster way to do. So let's say you encounter certain fears or some sort of a frustration, and you can dive into it and ask yourself what you must believe to be true or feel to be true about yourself to feel this way. So let's say, make a small example, let's say, okay, you want to have more financial abundance and you'll encounter financial fluctuations in unfolding towards it, right? So your ego structure says, yes, something has gone wrong, I want to have more money and I expect a linear unfolding, every day, tick, 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 tick. Most of the way it doesn't go like this. Most of the way you get like crazy fluctuations. And why is this? Because it is to help you to create an emotion that is not a representation of your future desired version that wants to resurface. So let's say the future desired version is in ease because of more financial whatever, and you're now in a bit of a struggle. You have to acknowledge that you have to eliminate or transform, you cannot eliminate, transform a struggle energy in order to become that match of that version. So if you encounter life circumstances that bring up struggle energy, and you can transform that, you're not unfolding towards the desired version. And the life circumstances that you're encountering during the day are not so, it doesn't really matter. Your state of being towards your desired version is what matters the most. I hope this helps a little bit, but I think maybe it's a bit too deep for a beginner. But if you acknowledge that the life circumstances are being recreated thousands and billions of times per second, it's not so important what you manifest in a given moment. It's more important that you hold the frame and the consistency and persistence towards your desired version. So you have to build that frame non-stop, but get very point. the faster you want to go there. So let's say if you're going from Amsterdam to Paris, you want to hold that Paris navigation point in your system, in your mind, in your image, and then see that every corner on the highway, every road left, right, which has been given by a navigation system, by a higher self, so to speak, as a life lesson, as a contrast lesson to help you to transform something. So you become the match to it, and then at some point that future desired version has to come to the present, and that's interesting. So it's that simple. I'm not sure if I can make it simpler, but this is pretty much it. If you want to complicate things more or you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. But the physical mind is not designed to do the how. It's the higher self, the being that you're non-stop, what you should be doing at any given moment during 100 days. So it's not so much about working in the 3D, so it's more about building that structure in your mind and take a few inspired action based on the future desired stages you do. And a lot of people overwork themselves in the process. The process is not, the how is not, it's the result of your future desired version, but it's not something that you have to do before, or strategically wise do before. And I think that's that's some thoughts I have here. So if you have more questions about learning to transform them, that's the most tricky thing, that's the most challenging thing in deliberate manifesting. Assigning positive meaning to any life circumstances that you encounter, even if they're so negative, because then if the life circumstances are extremely negative, is actually equivalent to the amount of transformation, or equivalent to the speed to your desired version, because the amount of negativity you can transform towards the positive is actually the speed. So it's actually, it's acknowledging, actually, if you create some sort of seemingly negative life circumstances towards your involvement, it's actually acknowledging that your energy is in motion, you're in that transformational machine, right? So some thoughts here. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And wishing everybody a beautiful high vibe day. Ciao.